can't believe I haven't already done this video. Hey guys, certified nutritionist and keto specialist Samantha Souza here. Today I am going to be doing a video that I really can't believe I haven't already done on my channel. I talk about my personal history a lot in respect to certain topics on videos that I put up on here. I talk about it a lot more on my Instagram, so if you're not following me there, go ahead and follow me. But I just think it was important to kind of do a dedicated video for people to kind of introduce myself and give you a point of reference really about who I am and what I'm about and where I'm coming from in terms of every time I talk about nutritional science here or even product recommendations on here. I think it's important that you get to know me. So I'm about to get into that, but before I do, please do me a favor and like this video if you like things like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment down below if this is something that's interesting to you. Being engaging on my channel helps me know what kind of content you like, and it really helps let YouTube know that you want to support me and what I'm doing here. Even if not financially, this is almost even more helpful for me. So go ahead and do all that. Have you done it? Okay, let's get right to it. I don't even know, I haven't planned out at all how I'm going to talk about this on this video. I just thought, I would sit down and communicate and explain myself and my history. I was a very healthy child. There are a lot of clients and people I talk to who remember from day one they felt like a heavy kid and that they were the fat kid in their class, etc. That was not the case for me. I was a pretty lean kid all growing up, but then once puberty hit, oh man, and clearly I can't even whistle either, so that's exciting. Yeah, I just ballooned. My hormones went so crazy during puberty. I got my period really early. Hormone changes came very early, around 5th grade or so. And by junior high, I was a heavier girl. I had a full C cup. Like, I just developed really early. And that might seem like too much information, but I feel like it really does give an accurate point of reference in terms of how I felt and how uncomfortable I was in my body when everyone else around me still looked like a kid and I looked like a woman, and like a very curvy woman at that. So I put on a ton of weight really quickly. My mom describes the time as I was insatiable hunger-wise. Like, I used to come home after school and have like an after school little like frozen dinner as like a snack. And my mom said that through that period, I would come home and have 3 frozen dinners. And I would be like, Mom, I'm just so hungry. I'm so hungry. And she felt very conflicted because it's like, okay, well, do I give into this or do I tell my kid, no, you're gonna get overweight? She didn't want to do that. And she just, let me do what I wanted to do because she didn't know how to handle it. And I totally empathize and respect that approach. Because it's tricky. It's tricky. I can't imagine what I would do in that situation. It's hard when all your kid is saying is, please, I'm so hungry. I want to have another one. It's difficult. And I wasn't eating healthfully at that either. I gained all this weight. I was around 200 pounds at 5'4"-ish, and I was a size 15 pant. Borderline, it was like 15/16, and I just felt really uncomfortable, really insecure. I was deeply depressed during this time, and again, it was just because I just felt so out of place for my age. And I always looked at pictures of myself and I felt thick, I felt just a total and utter lack of confidence. What I'm grateful for in this time is that I kind of was forced to develop my current personality. I didn't feel like I could lean on how I looked. In fact, I was so preoccupied with distracting from how I looked that I really developed this very outgoing, friendly, funny, sarcastic personality that I really enjoy to just sort of make me feel that confidence into what I thought would make people like me, which is sad that I thought people wouldn't like me because of how I looked, but again, I was young. My parents would encourage me to lose weight and offer to help. You know, I did Weight Watchers for a little while, and that kind of worked. And when you're young, like when you're a teenager and you're doing Weight Watchers and after school, like none of your friends are doing this. It just feels, again, like you are different. And that, I think, was what was hard for me. I didn't resonate with it a lot. It wasn't for me, but I did try it. And then it got to a point where I was so frustrated with myself that I decided to take my parents up on this offer that they presented to me to work with Michael Thurmond of Extreme Makeover. So Extreme Makeover, before it was about houses, it was about bodies. And he was the nutritionist and like coach for these people who like did these massive transformations and then did like skin removal surgery, etc. So while I wasn't on the show, I was doing that same program and that same protocol with him. And I lost 6 weeks. It was called 6-week total body makeover or something like that. And that was just a benefit of living in LA and having direct access to him. But I think he ended up selling that program over like TV also, like infomercial style, I believe. Don't remember because I worked with him personally. So I lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. It was crazy. But the methodology of it was extreme. Like I was literally given a piece of paper that had different times a day, what I was supposed to eat, and then I was given a book where I could like interchange some of those things with other things. But honestly, what I did for the entire 6 weeks was I just literally ate the exact same menu for 6 weeks. No treats, no deviations. You know, I could change 3 ounces of protein from 3 ounces of steak to 3 ounces of chicken. That was what I could change. The yogurt that I was supposed to have at 7 o'clock at night, which was the last thing I was supposed to eat at 7, that flavor could change, but you know, like, there was little things that I could modify, but I did not want to deviate from what seemed to be working. I lost a lot of weight. I lost about 40 pounds. Felt pretty good. When I started Michael Thurmond, I was already at around 185 or something like that. So I ended up at around 145, which I felt amazing. And I was 16 and I felt the most confident I had ever felt in my entire life as far as I could remember, because I didn't remember ever feeling small. I only remember feeling big. So that was life-changing. I was 16, I got my first boyfriend, I felt really confident, and then I stopped doing that program. Oh no! And the weight started to come back. Go figure. If you don't do exactly what's on a meal plan that you've been assigned and you just go back to your old ways, what do you think is gonna happen? That's really stuck with me in how I do my coaching and how so many things, and I teach this in my Diet Destroyer program. For those of you who are not aware, I am a nutrition coach, so I do help people. But because of my experiences, and I'll get into more of them in a second, but specifically because of my experience working on that program with him, it really informed and ingrained in me this idea of how meal plans don't work. I have a whole separate video about my opinions on meal plans and why I don't think that they work. I'll put it in the cards above. It's not that they don't work. You will lose weight. But at what cost to your lifestyle, to your social life, and B, how long are you going to maintain that result? Because the second you get off the meal plan, what have you really learned that's going to make it last for a lifetime? Or even more than a month after you stop doing it. Again, my entire program, which I call the Diet Destroyer, because it abolishes the typical ideologies that come with dieting, and because you feel like you're crushing it, because it's simple and systematic. And again, this is not a commercial, I'm just honestly talking to you like a friend, which hopefully you appreciate. But I really did learn from that experience that isn't effectual long term, because I didn't learn anything. All I learned was that if I eat oatmeal at 2 o'clock every day, I'm going to lose.
But what if I don't?
What if I don't eat oatmeal at 2 o'clock and then I gained weight back? So then you have this weird tie to whatever you did before, even though you know it's not sustainable unless you do it forever, which is not realistic. So cut to however many years later, I go to college, I balloon up like crazy, And initially I lost a lot of weight because when I moved to New York, I had to walk everywhere. And I was given a very, 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 very small food stipend because my dad had no idea how much more expensive food was in New York. And so I was living off of basically eating nothing and walking 12 miles a day, which I never did in California because we just go everywhere by car. So initially I lost some weight when I moved to New York. But the second that A, my budget increased, and B, my body adjusted to that activity, I ballooned up yet again. I got back up to probably a size 12 or 14, which after being a 4 was a lot of weight. And my college friends and my post-college friends will let you know I was constantly up and down all the time. I tried Nutrisystem throughout college before I initially moved to New York because I did my first year of college in LA. And that really worked also. Nutrisystem worked. But then again, what happened when I didn't have the multiple hundreds of dollars a week to pay for this food? It just didn't work for me anymore. I couldn't keep buying that food, and it's really hard to learn something when Nutrisystem is telling you, you can have pizza, you can have lasagna, you can have this and still lose weight. I'm sorry, hate to break it to you, but a Nutrisystem pizza is not the same as a Domino's pizza. A slice of genetically modified, super engineered Nutrisystem pizza is not the same as the regular thing from Domino's. It's not. So it's teaching you that you can have these things when really you can't, because that kind of food is not the normal kind of food. And it's also reinforcing that you are beholden to this company delivering this food to you if you want to maintain these results, because the second you get off of it, you will have not learned anything. In fact, you will almost reinforce negative habits of the kinds of foods you can eat that really you can't in the real world. That didn't work for me either. You guys, I tried the HCG diet. I was eating 500 calories a day, taking HCG hormone supplements that literally trick your body into thinking you're pregnant to lose weight. And I lost a lot of weight doing it. A, it's expensive. B, I'm literally tricking my body into thinking that I'm pregnant so that it releases weight if I eat less than 500 calories a day. Again, I didn't know what I know now, and looking back on it, I would literally smack myself across the face because it makes no sense. This is clearly not healthy. What other things did I do? I did it if it fits your macros, which I don't completely 100% disagree with, but do I think it's the most healthful if I can make it work, that I have Oreos and Cheetos and all these things? Like, I'm sorry, but the carbohydrates from 20 grams of Cheetos is not the same as 20 grams of carbohydrate from an apple. I think we all know that. So while, yeah, you can lose weight because you're creating a certain macro ratio and deficit, do I find it to be the most healthful? No. I did get fit, but again, I just felt like it wasn't the best solution for me. And what's interesting is I did that after I found keto. So I started doing keto. You know what? Let's talk about that first, because the timeline's a little bit fuzzy and I really want to focus on my experience with low carb, which is really the thing that changed my life. So when I was still living in New York and in college, I found, in my desperation to finally want to lose weight, the vegan diet. I was vegan for 2 years. Yes. It's crazy if you follow me on Instagram now with all the steaks that I eat to hear that I was vegan for 2 years. And honestly, I lost a lot of weight initially and I loved it. I didn't do it to lose weight, which I think is really important. I did it because I remember talking about how I could never give up a buttered steak with blue cheese on it to save my life. And I am the type of person who I hated hearing myself say, I could never do that. I've always been the kind of person who thinks I can do anything, which is weird because the one thing I couldn't do up until that time was really manage my weight. But all that being said, I said, I'll do veganism for 30 days. I initially lost so much weight because I had to think about everything that I ate so much more than I ever did that inherently I ended up eating less. So I don't think it was necessarily the veganism that made me lose weight, but more so the fact that I was in a much bigger, more aware deficit than anything I had done before. Going from standard American diet to anything that's in any way at all, shape, or form controlled is going to result in weight loss. So I lost a ton of weight. Then I got into a new relationship. most of you know, when you get into a new relationship, you go out to eat a lot more. Me being vegan ended up being really inconvenient after a while, and I just started slowly incorporating dairy and then slowly incorporating cheese, and eventually I ate meat again, and then I was just, you know, full-fledged back to normal. So what happened? Without any, you know, limitations or anything, I went back to standard American diet. Of course, I gained weight again. It was a constant yo-yo, you guys, for about 10 years. Really frustrating to never really know. I had multiple wardrobes of clothing depending on what size I was. Completely lacking confidence. At that point, because I was already eating meat again, I realized that the things I really liked were savory things like cheese and meat and eggs, and I loved those things. And I discovered Atkins. At the time, it was called Atkins. This is, you know, early 2010, maybe 2011. And it was so under the radar. Atkins was like kind of known, but it was very, you know, defamed and viewed as negative on the media and in the news. And the one thing I found was Jimmy Moore's message board. I want to say it's Live and La Vida Low Carb, and that was my only resource. There was a bunch of people doing this, posting their photos on a message board because we didn't have social media. I mean, we had Facebook, but there weren't really Facebook groups back then. It was just totally different. And I saw all the foods I could eat, and I thought, you know what? What do I have to lose? So I literally did Atkins, and it was like my life was completely changed. I read the Atkins New Diet Revolution book, which I was told on the, you know, message board that that was the book to read, not any of the new ones that had been written after he had died. And there's a lot of speculation about how he died, and it had nothing to do with his diet, just so everybody's aware. It was life-changing for me. I felt like the things that I could eat were everything that I wanted, and the things that I couldn't, I could make substitutions for and feel really satisfied. I lost a lot of weight really quickly. I got down to 128 at a certain point, which was by far the lowest I had been. By far. I finally felt like I had abs. I felt amazing. And then I ended up getting hired to work on cruise ships. So I worked on cruise ships, and it became a lot harder to figure out what was really low carb and what wasn't. I kind of strayed for a little while. I literally lived on a floating buffet. So I gained a little bit of weight back. It was really frustrating. I got up to 150, which is a significant amount of weight to gain in like about 6 months. And then I immediately started really diving hard in. I read the book again, the Atkins New Diet Revolution book again, and I really honed in on just locking that in and being less loosey-goosey. Weight came off again. So I started to feel like this is really the move for me. This is really gonna be it. And I stayed at that weight for a little while, and then I worked on ships for a long time, and eventually that's when I decided to try If It Fits Your Macros, and I was so scared. I hired a coach. I always advocate for hiring a coach, and I wanted to try and see if I could incorporate carbs back into my life and still feel fit. Pause for the cuckoo clock. So then I hired this coach. She gave me a more high carb, low fat, moderate protein approach, and I did feel fit, but I definitely had more fluctuations. My weight didn't really change. My measurements kind of changed a little bit, but for how much effort I was putting in, and it was really fun to be able to eat a lot more carbs again and feel like I wasn't gaining, but I also wasn't really getting anywhere for the amount of effort that I felt like I was putting in compared to when I was doing low carb. Again, at this point, keto is not a word in the common lexicon. It's just not. Low carb is, but it wasn't really a thing. So I enjoyed that. I felt like I got some decent results from that in terms of freedom from feeling like certain foods were bad. This was when I was doing the If It Fits Your Macros lifestyle. But again, I just didn't feel as healthy as I did when I was doing low carb. Literally, I was just tired all the time. I felt like my hormones were totally out of whack. I had irregular periods. So yeah, I wasn't gaining, or you know, I had some maybe slight toning up happening, but at what cost was kind of how I felt. Then I went directly onto another ship. I was in Europe for an entire summer, and I felt like, screw it, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm not gonna do low carb anymore. I'm just gonna enjoy being in France and Italy for 6 months and see what happens. And guess what happened? Wow, I gained weight. Who would have thought? So, you know, I had to like sort of take it into my hands again. And because I already knew that low carb worked for me, I kind of wanted to do another experiment and validate and just make sure it was the right move by doing the complete opposite. So I signed up for Renaissance Periodization, which is a program that's all about macro timing, and it's very high carb, low fat focused, scheduling your macros around when you work out and then assuming you're working out very heavily. A lot of CrossFitters do this approach because they need proper fuel for their workout. In doing that, I felt more bloated than I had ever been. My scale was going up and not down, following exactly their methodologies. I had never put more energy into what I was putting in my mouth ever in my entire life, and to get really nothing in return. My best friend at the time was telling me, yeah, you know, you're definitely putting on muscle, but you look a little fluffy. And like, she was my best friend, so she could tell me that. But I felt fluffy. I didn't feel good doing it. I didn't feel like I'm putting in so much effort to literally be seeing nothing happening other than me gaining muscle and just like fluffing out like crazy. And I was doing a cut. I was supposed to be shredding. It wasn't happening. So if anything, going through that taught me that low carb, if I didn't know it before, I really know it now. That is the thing that for me is the least amount of effort, is the most enjoyable, is the most sustainable. That's the winning ticket. So that brings me full circle to sort of where I'm at now. I've been doing what is commonly called keto for almost 10 years. What was really interesting was I started to research more and more and more about body composition, and I took all the things that I learned from Renaissance Periodization and bodybuilding techniques and cutting and reverse dieting, and I started researching all of these things. And while I was on the road with the national tour of Rent, if you're familiar with that musical, I decided to go on my first cut, and I took everything that I knew and I applied it to myself. I was already coaching my friends and family for years about low carb in general, and now I really wanted to focus on metabolic manipulation and adaptation and using all of that to my advantage the same way that bodybuilders do for their shows, without any of the negative sort of aftermath, and taking hormone balance into account the way that people who do keto do. So it's kind of trying to craft the best of all worlds and put it into something for myself. I lost 7 pounds in 6 weeks, I believe, and I got really lean. I realized exactly what worked, and I started telling other people in my life how to do it. I was talking to my friend on the tour bus during Rent about nutritional science, and she told me,
you don't light up about anything the way you do about nutritional science and teaching people about how your body works. You need to really stop doing this for free for your friends and family only and try and help more people.
Because yeah, there's a lot of things out there that work. They all do. I'm not gonna lie. If you find a weight loss plan and it says it's gonna give you a result, it probably will. But ask yourself, is it providing you the knowledge to make those actions a lifestyle? Is this something that you think you can do long term? Is this something that is wearing down your hormones so much that you think, I'm gonna have to keep cutting calories in order to make this work? That's not correct. That's not sustainable. That is running yourself into the ground. And I was so joyous to save people in my life from this common struggle, or people trying to outrun their diet, etc. It's not worth it, and it actually is in disservice to what you're trying to do. So now, for the last couple of years and getting certified and working with clients, I've made that my passion because I've been through this struggle, because I have seen how hard it is, and because I have tried literally everything, name it, I've tried it, and I know the pitfalls that come with each of those ways. I've deliberately created my style of coaching to combat all of that. And you can check out my Instagram and my highlights. I have 3 separate highlights of client results because there's just always something new to share, and new progress and new things to celebrate with my clients. And again, I didn't make this video to be a commercial. I made this video so that if you ever watch one of my free educational videos on here, or you follow me on Instagram, that you know when I post a photo of me in a crop top, that wasn't always the case. And that I'm still battling every day myself, my inner demons that I've battled my whole life, and that I am right there with you. So if you go and watch my video on why meal plans don't work, or if you watch my video on reverse dieting in general, or if you watch my video about intuitive eating, it's not coming from a place of some of these people I see on social media who have lost maybe 10 pounds and now they want to be your coach. I'm sorry, but you don't understand me, and you don't understand my struggle, and you don't understand my life. I'm coming to you because I've been the client so many times. And because of that, I have a completely free training that I'm offering to you if you're watching this video. You can access it in the description box below. It covers the common pitfalls that I see with yo-yo dieting, and it's something that I know intimately. It covers why you've yo-yo dieted and explains to you that it's not your fault and what you can do to override it. Nothing is held back. Nothing is kept from you. Nothing is, I'm gonna give you everything until this, and then you have to pay for it. It's 100% free, and it's because I've been where you are. It's because I've been the girl watching everybody's weight loss stories on YouTube going, how did they do it? Maybe I can do something like that. And I wanna help you because I've been you, because I still am you. And just because I've mastered it and I figured it out for myself, it took me 15 years to get here. Oh, more than that, because I've been keto for 10. So yeah, it took me over 15 years to get here, maybe 17 years to get here. And I'm really confident that this free training can help you. And that's all I want to do is help you. And if you have any questions about it, you know where to find me in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't boring, and just being transparent felt like you were talking to a friend. And remember, register for my free training down below if that's something that interests you. If you want to find out how to end the cycle of yo-yo dieting for good, I am here to help. It's absolutely free. Again, before I sign off, I'm gonna ask you to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram, and feel free to DM me your story. I'd love to hear it. You can write it in the comments as well. I respond to every single person because I care and because I've been you. So hopefully this hasn't bored you, and I'll just see you next time. Bye.